Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Sami here. Today we are gonna see, what if Naruto died? Tsunade went back in time to save him, part 5. Hope you'll enjoy this video. So before we start, please subscribe to our channel, and like this video. So let's get into the video. Ishiko had kissed Naruto goodbye, as he stood in front of the theater waiting for his team. She had given him 3 tickets with the instructions to watch the movie with his team, and use some of the chakra control training he had learned, so that he could improve his control. Naruto thanked her, and gave her a big hug before she left. Naruto missed the tear that fell down her face, as she walked away trying to make sure that she didn't worry him. She hoped that all that she had changed had not brought possible problems for Naruto, since she has spared Haku, and brought Hinata out of her slump. There was Isaripi, with her wanting to speed up the pace. There were also the others to consider. Had she become greedy? Or was she allowing the pace to be too fast? She wondered if Naruto would be safe on this mission. Would he find more love in the arms of Koyuki? And there was the upcoming report from the lab. What would that hold? Could she face her mother with the prospect of Naruto being the fourth son? Ishiko walked at a leisurely pace back to Konoha, as the cinema was in a town close to Konoha. She was suddenly woken from her musings, as she felt the presence of several people around her that weren't there before. She moved to a defensive stance, as a man jumped down from a tree. "Greetings, we are here to collect you, and deliver you home," the man said with a bow. Ishiko appeared to relax, but she was still on alert. "So did my mother send you to collect the little old me?" she asked in an innocent voice. The man bowed, and replied, "Yes, she sent us to collect you." "Us?" she said, as if she hadn't noticed the others. The man appeared nervous, as sweat beaded up on his brow, but he calmly replied, "Yes, your Anbu escort. The others are hiding, so as not to arouse suspicions." Ishiko raised her hand, and snapped her fingers, and 2 Anbu appeared next to her, as she asked coyly, "You mean these guys?" The man immediately changed to a defensive stance, as he heard a couple people land behind him. Ishiko smiled at the man only to see him sweat even harder. "You see, while my mother trusts me, she does send protection on certain occasions," Ishiko admitted. "Bear, Raven, get her while I deal with the other 2, the man ordered, only to feel a sharp pain at the back of his neck. He heard Ishiko scold him, as he lost consciousness. "If my protection wouldn't have been enough, you would have had to deal with me too, the daughter of a Sannin," she admitted. She turned to the Anbu, and said, "Tiger, make sure that Ibiki has some fun with them." "Yes ma'am." Tiger Anbu acknowledged, as they bound the fake Anbu, and headed back to Konoha. Ishiko got home to find the house empty, so she went up to her room to try and figure out what was truly bugging her. She found a manila envelope lying on her bed. She hesitated to open it, knowing and fearing what she might find. She reached for it, only to pull her hand back to her chest. After what seemed like forever, she gently grabbed the envelope and found a piece of paper below it. She opened the paper and read it. "Yashi-chan, please read the full report before you draw any conclusions. I know you feel you need to help Naruto-kun, but understand what is in the report before you commit to anything. Love, your mother." Ishiko was confused by the message, but hardened herself to take whatever was in the report. She opened the envelope, and removed the medical file. She began to read, and was awestruck. This wasn't just a blood workup, it was a full medical workup on Naruto, that went back for years. She began to read, and began to cry at the words on the paper. One problem after another, nothing too serious. That is if you don't consider severe malnutrition, minor blood poisoning, and cellular damage bad things. As she read, she began to form a picture of what Naruto's early life might have been like. She could attribute his malnutrition to not being fed enough, and the blood poisoning to eating food not fit for human consumption. She looked at the other things such as cellular damage, finding it was done early on, and seemed to have happened again with the fight between Zabuza and Haku. She came to a startling conclusion, that the fox was slowly killing him. This point confused her. Her memories of the future told her that his physical showed none of these maladies. There had to be more, so she continued to read. Naruto's testosterone, estrogen, and progesterone levels were even high for a man or a woman in their prime. With these levels of hormones, Naruto should have nearly the strength of Lee with his weights. The lowered levels of other hormones typically associated with the brain was also confusing. All this was confusing, so she read on, and found the part about possible bloodlines. Naruto did indeed have a bloodline, regeneration. While considered a minor bloodline, it was one. The big drawback to the bloodline was that it used chakra to regenerate damaged tissues, unlike her creation rebirth, which caused cells to divide faster than normal. But this bloodline caused the cell division without the loss of lifespan. Added to the fox's chakra, Naruto would have a hard time being killed, as long as he had a pool of chakra to pull from. What was she going to do now that the fox's chakra seemed to be poisoning him? There had to be an answer. She finished the report, set it gently on her nightstand, lay down on her bed, and began to cry. Haku was spending the day with Hinata, as they knew that Naruto would be away for a while, so they decided to try to make sure that they could get along together, as they were set to marry Naruto in a few years. "So Haku-chan, when did you realize you fell for Naruto?" Hinata asked with a blush. Haku blushed in return, and then said, "It was when I found him lying in the meadow covered with birds, after he spent most of the night training." Our conversation sealed my feelings, but I also had Sabuza-sama to consider. He was like a father to me. He showed few if any emotions, like a true shinobi, Haku admitted sadly. Hinata giggled at Haku's admission. I noticed him when we first went to the academy. Like you, I found him on several occasions lying on the ground exhausted. That is part of his appeal, and that he won't give up. Because of this he showed me that I could push myself to defend those that I love, and I knew that I loved him. While the other girls chased after Sasuke, I quietly watched Naruto from the shadows, letting him be my inspiration, she admitted with a happy far-off look. Yakumo and Isuribi were shopping for new clothing and equipment. Few if any people had seen Yakumo outside of her residence that they had kept her, mainly because of Ito. Now she would occasionally come out and visit those outside of her family estates. Tsunade waited outside the door of her daughter's room, tears running down her face. She knew that her daughter was crying, and the reason why. If a solution wasn't found for Naruto, then he might die young from chakra poisoning, specifically demon chakra poisoning. The reason he hadn't died yet was because of a bloodline he had that regenerated his cells. When Naruto gets back, we are going over him with a fine-tooth comb. She understood the basics of the seal on Naruto, and it should allow for the demon chakra not to damage him too heavily, as he hadn't used the demon chakra often enough to cause this much damage. The only thing she could figure was that Naruto had a high tolerance for pain, and didn't know he was injured. Hopefully Naruto wouldn't have to use the Kyuubi's chakra during the mission, as it would hasten the poisoning. She had put out a call to Jiraiya to return, and wait for Naruto to check his seal, and make sure he didn't have any others on him. For both of the people that were precious to her, she needed to find out why this was happening. A little tidbit that Naruto was the child of the 4th Hokage wasn't lost upon her either. She did hate it when her daughter was right, but it happened too often for it to be more than just coincidence. She began to wonder if her daughter had a premonition power of some sort. If it were sporadic, it wouldn't be good for gambling, but might be good to help protect the village, and her soon-to-be bulging family. If the last communication from Jiraiya was anything, she might have to deal with a man on a mission to marry her. That jerk, we spent one night together, and had a child, now he wants to finalize it, and make it official. Damn you old pervert, she thought to herself. She waited for another 10 minutes before knocking on the door. Can I come in, sweetheart? She asked quietly, as she wiped the tears from her face. The door opened, and a red-eyed, but weakly smiling Yoshiko opened the door. She immediately embraced her mother, stating, "It isn't fair. He doesn't deserve this. There has to be something wrong with him, a corruption of his seal or something," she exclaimed. Tsunade rubbed her distraught daughter's back in an attempt to comfort her. "Your father and I will take a look when he gets back from this mission he is on. We will also have your father look at your seal while I do a complete workup on you to make sure that you're not suffering from the same malady that he is," she explained. Yoshiko nodded that she understood, and then hugged her mother tighter. "Why him?" she asked in a whimpering tone. Why would the Hokage entrust the safety of the village to his own child, rather than just some orphan off the streets? Tsunade asked, but then answered, "I know of only 4 people that I trust implicitly. Those would be you, Naruto-chan, Shizune, and your father. The ultimate sign of trust would be to put a burden on your child if you couldn't bear it yourself. I know it sounds cruel, but sometimes you have to take the lesser of 2 evils. You and Naruto share a burden. From what I can tell, you're destined to be his mate or at least his companion. I do wonder why he has collected such a following in the female population, and so quickly," she pondered. While Sasuke has the dark, sulking, bad boy image down pat, Naruto-kun has the rough and tumble image down without even trying. He has his own magnetism about him. We all have our reasons for loving Naruto-kun. Mine is several-fold. I almost feel that I'm meant to be with him, and I find those whisker marks irresistible," Yoshiko said with a small giggle and a sniffle as she wiped her eyes. Tsunade chuckled at the admission of her daughter. "You know, you keep that up, and I'll really be a grandmother," she said sarcastically. Yoshiko blushed at the implications, but then shook her head. "No, we can't have others know about either the marriages or have any children until Akatsuki is dealt with," she replied in a serious tone. Yoshiko closed her eyes and began to speak. Akatsuki members include Itachi Uchiha, Madara Uchiha, and Orochimaru of Konohagakure, Kisame Hoshigaki of Mist, Deidara of Rock, Nagato, and Konan of Rain, Kakuzu of Waterfall, Haiden of Hot Springs, and Sasori of the Red Sands from Sunagakure. Madara Uchiha goes by the name of Tobi, and is secretly the leader of the Hidden Mist village. Nagato goes by the name of Pain, and is secretly the leader of the Hidden Rain village. Do not take this information lightly, or spread it around just yet. Naruto might just yet be able to turn Nagato to your side, but he isn't ready," Yoshiko droned off in another worldly voice. She then opened her eyes, and nearly collapsed from exhaustion. Luckily she was still in Tsunade's embrace, so she barely staggered. "What was that, Yoshi-chan? Why were you talking about the Uchiha?" Tsunade asked. Yoshiko looked confused, and asked, "What do you mean, mother?" "I was saying that Akatsuki needed to be dealt with." Tsunade looked at her daughter, and then smiled warmly, and said, "Oh, it was nothing, just an old woman worrying about her baby." "Mom?" Yoshiko exclaimed with a smile. "That's good information, and I'll have to get it to Jiraiya." Maybe he can make sense of it, as I know at least 2 people she named are thought to be dead, Madara and Kakuzu, she thought, as she again hugged her daughter. Having seen the truth that Yoshiko didn't know what she was saying when she gave away the information about Akatsuki, she had to contemplate where it came from. She knew that Aki and Yoshiko were on good terms, so more than likely it didn't come from Aki, as Yoshiko usually relays the message, and has never taken control of her daughter. This certainly was a mystery. 3 weeks later, Naruto's team entered the village a little haggard, but they appeared okay. The only problem was that Naruto seemed a little jumpy when Yoshiko gave him a hug. He returned it, but seemed distant and distracted. Yoshiko gave him a little space, and brought him home to his own room at the Senju residence. Naruto wasn't his usual self. Under close observation, Yoshiko noticed his movements were those of someone who was in intense pain, even with the smiles, and toned down jovial manners. She took off his jacket, and then helped into bed. "Naruto-kun, what's wrong? Are you in pain?" she asked, as he nodded. "Where does it hurt?" Naruto rolled over, and pointed to his lower back. "Right here," he explained. Yoshiko pulled up his shirt to find a seal glowing red in an area of skin that appeared as if it had received second-degree burns. She quickly pulled out some of Hinata's salve, and applied it to the burn, as it sizzled away to leave a red area of skin, and the seal. Quickly she picked up a pencil and paper off the desk, and began to draw the design of the seal on the paper. After copying the seal, she examined it further, and noted that the seal was glowing from beneath the skin. She quickly bit her finger, and ran through several hand seals, as she yelled summoning. A puff of smoke later, and a small slug appeared. "You wish, my lady?" the slug asked. "At my mother and Jiraiya now." "Start with my mother, and if he isn't there, go search all the hot springs in the village. Now go, it's important. And tell them it's about Naruto-kun," she nearly pleaded, as she ordered the slug to find both of her parents. She then did several more hand seals, calling out "Pain Scalpel." Her hands turned green, and were covered in chakra. She then slowly placed them around the area where the seal was showing through the skin. Naruto visibly relaxed. "Tell Kyuubi to stop sending chakra to heal you, it's killing you." She saw Naruto's face visibly pale, and then his eyes glazed over for a minute. She then grabbed a brush, and drew the outlines of the seal on his back, making sure not to make any seals on his back. The seal under his skin slowly died away as she saw Naruto's eyes return to normal, and then close. 20 minutes later, Tsunade and Jiraiya entered the room hurriedly. "I think I found the source of the poisoning," Yoshiko explained, brushing Naruto's hair affectionately, while his head was on her lap. Both noticed that Naruto was missing his shirt. Looking closer, they noticed an outlined area on his lower back near his spine. Also, the area was bright red, as if it was a rash or burn. "I found this subcutaneous seal," she explained, as she handed Jiraiya the paper with the copy of the seal. Jiraiya looked confused, but Tsunade paled, as she explained, "The seal is located beneath the skin. Someone cut Naruto-chan, and put a seal beneath his skin. His bloodline would heal, and leave little if no scarring." "So what is it?" Jiraiya scowled, as he studied the paper. "This seal would block the filter on the original seal, and it would explain the poisoning," as he began to use more and more of the Kyuubi's chakra. "We will have to do surgery to remove the seal. Haim, you'll have to open his back up, and I'll have to remove the seal. I just hope that they didn't put any fail-safes on it, otherwise this might get dangerous. For now, he's forbidden from using the Kyuubi's chakra," Jiraiya ordered. Tsunade and Yoshiko both nodded, as they all looked sorrowfully at Naruto. 2 hours later, Yoshiko watched, as Naruto lay on the operating table. His back was exposed with an incision line marked near where she had drawn the outline of the seal. Jiraiya and Shizune, along with an anesthesiologist to make sure Naruto slept through the procedure. Surprisingly, Kakashi had also shown up. His only comment was, "I want to keep an eye on the team, and make sure they are in tip-top shape." Yoshiko watched him out of the corner of her eye, as Tsunade began to make her incision. She cut the skin in a cross pattern so as to be able to reveal the most area with the least amount of skin needing to be pulled back, and not as much damage to the skin. Jiraiya collected some of the blood, as it leaked out of the wound, and poured it into a vial with a dark solution, more than likely ink. He then shook the blood ink solution until it was mixed to his satisfaction. Tsunade pulled back, and secured the skin to reveal a seal larger than the one that Yoshiko had drawn. The area was about a quarter of Naruto's lower back. Jiraiya sighed, as he examined the seal. Jiraiya shook his head, and began to draw his own seal on top of the other seal. "This is going to be touchy. There are 3 seals here, one that stops the filter, a second that drains the original seal, and a final that stores chakra, more specifically demon chakra. My problem is to try to fix the filter, but I also have to watch out for the storage seal, and not pour a ton of the Kyuubi's chakra into Naruto," he explained. He then pulled out a scroll, and began to write on it. He then set the scroll on Naruto, and did a few hand seals. Everyone watched as red chakra poured out of the seal on Naruto's back, and into the scroll. After a couple minutes, the chakra stopped flowing. Jiraiya then began the removal process. Another couple hours later, he finally had removed all the seals. Tsunade and Shizune then closed Naruto's back up, and watched it slowly knit back together. They put a bandage over the wound just in case, to make sure nothing got into the wound. Naruto found himself with one hell of a backache, and a warm body beneath him, or at least partially. He opened his eyes to see Yoshiko's chest rising, and falling at a rhythmic rate, and his arm wrapped around her waist. She was wearing a silk nightgown. He felt exhausted, but also felt a lot better than when he had passed out. He looked at the clock on the dresser, and it showed that it was about 5 in the morning. Deciding not to move and enjoy the company, he closed his eyes and squeezed Yoshiko. He missed the smile that crossed Yoshiko's face right after his squeeze. Naruto woke up a little later to Yoshiko shifting beneath him. He opened his eyes to see her nightgown stuck to his face, and pulled in such a way as to reveal her nipples. Yoshiko looked down to see Naruto turn red. Yoshiko smirked as she carefully slid out from underneath Naruto. "You don't need to be embarrassed, Naruto-kun. I've said before that you can look at me all you want," she said, with much conviction. "Now Naruto-kun, you've been through major surgery, and I need to ask you. Do you need to go to the bathroom?" Naruto nodded. Yoshiko carefully pulled the sheets back off of Naruto. He felt the cold chill of air, and shivered. He then noticed that he wasn't in the hospital. "Why are we in your room, instead of the hospital if I just had surgery?" he asked, as she helped him slowly get out of bed. "You're safer here at home than you were at the hospital, also I can't sleep with you there," she replied with a fake pout. Naruto blushed at the double meaning of what she had said. He then grinned and said, "I thought we weren't going to do that just yet, Yoshiko-chan." Yoshiko blushed as they entered the bathroom. She then pulled down his boxers and set him on the toilet. "Not until you're healed at least," she said, as she returned the tease. She leaned over making sure that her nightgown showed that she wasn't wearing anything beneath it. She heard him relieving himself as she teased him. Naruto gulped and blushed yet again. "Like what you see?" she teased. "I'm all yours, Naruto-kun, but you'll have to wait until after you heal though. But if you want I could give you a show." Naruto leaned back and touched his back to the lid of the toilet and let out a yelp of pain. Yoshiko turned from seductress into nurse instantly, as she did several hand seals, and then scanned his back. She sighed in relief. She then said, "The area is mostly healed, but will be tender for a few days." Naruto stood slowly, and allowed Yoshiko to pull his boxers back up. Since he knew at the moment she was all business, and wouldn't tease him about his slowly hardening friend. "So, what's with major surgery?" he asked. "You had a few more seals we had to remove," she answered, as they made their way back to the bedroom. There they found a naked Isaribi on the bed waiting for the pair. Naruto blushed, and tried to look away only to find Isaribi in front of him turning his head back towards her. "You will not turn away from me, Naruto-kun, even if I am naked. You are allowed to see me this way," she said with authority. Naruto nodded at this, and then proceeded to scan her up and down, noting that she didn't wear her bandages. "I'm not healthy for physical activities right now, sorry," he said in a disappointed voice. Both Isaribi and Yoshiko giggled as they placed him back on the bed. "You're not supposed to do anything for the next few days anyways, Naruto-kun. So just be a good boy and allow us to indulge your inner pervert," Yoshiko explained. Naruto paled at this statement. Inner pervert? Is she crazy? Pachin will kill me if I indulge in perversion with either of them, even if I weren't hurt, he thought to himself. Naruto watched as Yoshiko removed her nightgown and then entered the bed with both of them. Now Naruto was in bed with 2 girls, and they both were naked. He quickly passed out. Yoshiko looked at Isaribi in confusion and asked, "Do you think we went too far?" Isaribi shrugged and snuggled next to Naruto. Over the next few days of recovery, Naruto noticed several things. 1. His team didn't stop by even though both Tsunade and Isaribi had informed them that Naruto had undergone surgery. Sasuke not stopping by was fine, but it disturbed him that Sakura and Kakashi didn't stop by or leave a message. Check-in to even stopped by with Team 10, as did Guy, Tenten, and Ichi. They said that Lee would after he recovered, but it would still be weeks before he could leave the hospital. Second was Yoshiko seemed to be getting very nervous for reasons only known to her and Aki. Naruto didn't want to lose Yoshiko, so he didn't push it. In reality, she would have told him everything if he had only asked. Unlike most males, seeing all these females naked wasn't the high point for him. It was the close contact that they would give him that he treasured most. He still didn't have a clue what to do around them, so he was just himself, and that seemed to be just fine with him. Naruto was walking down the hallway, as he was told he could do some light exercises, but was forbidden from doing anything that required him to bend over. He was passing by Tsunade's room, and heard voices. When should we tell him? And how much should we let him know? He recognized Yoshiko's voice. That is up to you. I'm not sure he is ready for all of it, but you should let him know some of it. The operation was a success, but we need him in top form, as soon as possible. You're in charge of his recovery, Tsunade explained. The door opened, and Yoshiko was looking down with blue eyes. Hi Naruto-kun, you heard, didn't you? Naruto nodded, and asked, what's wrong if you can't tell me everything, Yoshiko-chan? Yoshiko took his hand, and they walked down to the kitchen without a word. Sit Naruto-kun, mother will be down in a second, and there are some things we are going to discuss. Hinata-chan will be joining us, she said with a smirk, as the door to the kitchen opened, and Hinata entered the room. Hinata smiled, blushed, and said, "Hi, Naruto-kun, Yoshiko-chan. Is it time to tell him?" Yoshiko nodded, as Tsunade entered the room. "Good you're here, so we can start," Tsunade said, as she took a seat. Naruto became nervous, and began to sweat. "What is going on?" he asked in a nervous voice. Yoshiko placed her hands on Naruto's left hand, while Hinata did the same with his right hand. "Relax, Naruto-kun, we have several things that we need to explain to you, and that you need to hear," Yoshiko said with a warm smile. "Where do we start?" Tsunade mused. She then snapped her fingers, and said, "Naruto there why is this so hard? Just spit it out, Bachan." Naruto yelled. Tsunade felt her eye raise, and the veins in her forehead pulse. "You will be respectful." She yelled back. Yoshiko and Hinata both giggled at the display. "What?" she asked the girls with a surprised expression. "Mother, you and Naruto-kun are acting like brother and sisters. He does respect you, otherwise you wouldn't have a nickname," Yoshiko explained, as Naruto nodded. Tsunade smacked her face with her hand, and grumbled. "This is going to be harder than I thought," she said in an annoyed voice. "First thing we're going to discuss is your surgery," Yoshiko said, and waited for Naruto to nod. She then continued, "You had several seals placed under your skin, directly behind the Kyuubi seal. It was killing you slowly. With them removed you're making an excellent recovery." "I always heal fast," Naruto explained. Yoshiko smiled, and nodded. "Yes we know, and now we know why. You have a healing bloodline, Naruto-kun," she explained. "No way. I have a bloodline. What does it do?" Naruto asked. "Same old Naruto-kun," Hinata said with a blush, as Naruto gave her a confused look. She then continued, "Naruto-kun, your bloodline is your healing. It uses chakra to heal your wounds. You naturally have a high chakra reserve, but the Kyuubi pushes that to the extreme. Since your chakra is used to suppress the Kyuubi's chakra, you have been using chakra since the ceiling when you were a baby, thus the reason your reserves are at near or above cage level. You should have been trained in controlling it earlier than you were. Now we have to bring you to a level where your control is level with your capacity. While this is going to be difficult, we know you don't shy away from hard work." Naruto took a minute to take in the information, and then said, "I'm just great like that. So what exercises do I have to do to get my chakra under control?" All the women giggled at Naruto's reaction, but Yoshiko spoke up and said, "You're going to be doing advanced chakra control. We already know that you know about the Rasengan, water walking, and tree climbing. We're going to use shadow clones to do most of the work, so your body can rest. You had extra seals on you that you didn't know about, and they were using the Kyuubi chakra to kill you slowly. So you're saying that using the Kyuubi chakra is bad?" Naruto asked in a sullen voice. "Yes and no. The Kyuubi is a demon or spirit based on chakra. With it you gain limited regeneration, but you have extended regeneration with your bloodline. It means that with those seals gone you will be able to live longer than if you still had them. The regeneration that the Bijuu and other spirits give to their hosts is enough to protect them from the effects of their chakra and do limited healing. You on the other hand can heal from a near fatal blow," Yoshiko explained. Naruto swallowed hard at the implications. "So it would take a lot to kill me?" Yoshiko shook her head and said, "Not really, just cutting off that cute head of yours would be enough. Extract the Kyuubi, or injure you enough to deplete your chakra would do it. So we need to get you stronger, so that you will be able to defend yourself against Akatsuki." Naruto paled at the mention of Akatsuki. "How do I beat someone like Itachi or kiss him?" he asked with worried eyes. Yoshiko smiled, and squeezed his hand. "You become stronger than them. There are also others you need to worry about. They will be after all 9 of the Bijuu, not just yours. You see, Itachi is only one member of Akatsuki." Tsunade then said, "They are a criminal organization composed of S and A rank missing nin from assorted villages. 3 according to rumors are immortal in one way or another. I would gather that Madara Uchiha was involved in the attack on Konoha 13 years ago. Oh, and by the way Naruto-kun, happy birthday." Naruto was shocked that someone would wish him this, since he had planned to spend the day at home today, and missed the festival. "So Naruto-kun, would you like to go to the festival?" Yoshiko asked, but then regretted the question. Hinata grabbed his hand before he could run out of the room. "It's alright Naruto-kun, you can stay here with us today if you like. We can work with your clones to get your chakra under control," she said in a soothing tone. Naruto's eyes returned from fearful to more sedate. He nodded agreement. Naruto got dressed even with 2 blushing girls in the room. Hinata then led Naruto out into the yard where he sat down, and he created about 50 clones, and Hinata began to instruct him on other types of chakra control. "You missed that one, didn't you, Yoshi-chan?" Tsunade asked, with a comforting smile. "I forgot that he didn't like the festival, because of him being the container of the Kyuubi." "Hinata-chan made a good save though," Yoshiko admitted. Tsunade nodded at her daughter's mistake. She then watched as Naruto and Hinata began to go over more advanced chakra control exercises. Hinata pulled out a blunted kunai and began to spin it above her hand. The kunai came to a stop, and then she handed it to Naruto. "Now Naruto-kun, you need to get this to move in one direction, and then maintain that speed for 5 minutes, she explained. The clones were doing both tree walking and water walking exercises. They would also put leaves on their bodies to try to get them to stick. Naruto got the kunai to spin, but soon it began to spin at high speed, and then shot off into a tree. "Aw man," he exclaimed. Hinata touched his shoulder, and put another blunted kunai in his hand. "That was good, Naruto-kun. Now you just need to slow the speed down, and maintain it for 5 minutes," she said in a reassuring tone. It took about 30 minutes for Naruto to be able to control the kunai's speed. Naruto then created a clone that began to work on a Rasengan. It made it to the last stage, but still seemed to lack the control to get the Rasengan completed by itself, and it exploded. Naruto got a thoughtful look on his face, and then said, "I think I'm getting the idea on how to get the Rasengan to work properly without the clone." Hinata smiled warmly, and then gently cupped his face with both hands. He looked at her in surprise. She then pulled his face to hers, and gently connected their lips. Naruto was in bliss yet again after lunch after training. Naruto wrapped his arms around Hinata as the kiss deepened. He didn't understand it, but whenever Hinata kissed or Yoshiko kissed him, he felt his worries shed from his body. He felt he could just live in the moment. After a few minutes the kiss broke, and Hinata was faced with Naruto with a silly look on his face, and a stupid smile. Hinata accidentally woke him out of his blissful oblivion by giggling, and then giving him a quick peck on the lips. "You know Naruto-kun, I could get to like that," she said in a seductive voice. Naruto raised an eyebrow, and asked, "Where has the shy weird girl I knew from the academy gone?" Hinata giggled, and blushed. "I was shown the light, and figured I needed to change things for the better for my Naruto-kun, and myself," she answered, and then kissed him again. Only this time it wasn't so deep or passionate. "Time to get back to training," she exclaimed, as she gave him yet another kiss, this time a chaste one. She knew that his interest in girls was only just now coming into focus. Last time around Sakura had nearly beaten him out of feeling anything for a female. She did blame her on some levels, but on others she blamed her fascination with Sasuke as the root cause of the troubles. Sakura could have had Naruto all to herself, but she had to side with Sasuke, and spur the love and devotion shown to her by Naruto. "It won't happen this time, Naruto-kun. If he runs we will be there to help either bring him back or destroy him, before he can go to Orochimaru," she thought as the kiss ended. Naruto began to try to do the kunai exercise again. Hinata cleared her throat, and asked, "Why don't you use clones to help Naruto-kun?" Naruto looked at her with a confused look, and then nodded acknowledgement. "I forgot about that, sorry," he said in a dejected tone. Hinata raised his chin with her hand, and kissed him again on the lips. "Being forgetful is fine. Now make the clones, so that you can get that chakra under control," she ordered gently. Naruto nodded, and his clones began to work on the technique. Every once in a while a clone would burst, as the kunai would fly into the clone, and disperse it. Within an hour Naruto had the technique mastered. Hinata then worked with him on a kata for his taijutsu. Naruto blushed under the attention of the Hyuga princess, but didn't let it stop him from performing the kata Hinata had shown him. Yoshiko watched from afar, since she felt bad at scaring Naruto. "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun. I didn't mean to scare you so much," she thought, only to be brought out of her musing by a hand on her shoulder. She looked up, and saw the comforting smile of her mother. "Don't take it too seriously, Yoshi-chan. He is very delicate in a lot of ways, but harder than any metal in existence in other ways. It will take you girls time to break him out of his shell, and teach him what you want him to learn. He might even have a few things to teach you girls. I have to go to the festival, and kick the celebration off. Tell Naruto that he can stay here from now on if he likes. We do have a room for him, and he does eventually need to know who his father was. I would not tell him just yet, because he still isn't quite ready," Tsunade said, while she slowly walked off in her Hokage robes. Yoshiko walked over, and gave Naruto a hug from behind, and then kissed his neck. "I'm sorry, Naruto-kun. I forgot about the festival, and you not getting along," she admitted in an apologetic tone. Naruto wore a huge smile on his face, and began to scratch the back of his head. "That's okay, Yoshiko-chan," he said happily. Hinata frowned, and Yoshiko turned him around to face him. She then shook her head, and embraced him. "No, Naruto-kun, it isn't alright. I hurt you because of my negligence. I can't promise it won't ever happen again, but I can promise I will try to not let it happen again," she happily said, and surprised him with a passionate kiss on the lips. Hinata smiled at the apology, and watched, as Naruto deepened the kiss. He then broke the kiss, and looked between Yoshiko and Hinata. "Are you okay with me kissing her?" he asked Hinata. Hinata smiled, and nodded. She then cupped his face in her hands, and kissed him deeply. "Only if you spread the love around too," she said shyly. Naruto blushed crimson. Both girls laughed, and kissed him on either cheek. "Now Naruto-kun, we're going to work on your taijutsu tonight, and then sit on the roof, and watch the fireworks. There is a surprise after the fireworks for you," Yoshiko said seductively. Naruto looked at the girl with apprehension. Naruto had his clones continue chakra control training, and he began to work on his kata. Hinata and Yoshiko continued to help give him pointers. This continued until near dinner time. Naruto then took a bath with Hinata and Yoshiko. He had to hold his nose to prevent a nosebleed, but he also noticed the girls do the same thing, so he was a little more at ease. All three got dressed in dress kimonos, had dinner, and went up on the roof to watch the fireworks. Naruto smiled sedately as he watched the fireworks explode over the village. Hinata and Ishiko leaned into his shoulders. Naruto noticed several other people ascending to the roof soon after the fireworks began. Yakumo, Isaripi, and Anko helped a young blonde girl he had never seen before onto the roof. He smiled warmly at the girl who smiled at him, but he could tell that the girl was lonely from her eyes. Anko led the girl up to Naruto and smiled at him. "Hey Anko-chan. Who's the new girl?" Naruto asked. The girl bowed and said, "I'm Shion, priestess of Demon Country, and I've come all this way." She hesitated and looked at Yoshiko and Hinata. They both shook their heads slightly. She smiled and then said, "I've come to speak with your Hokage and to see the great Konohagakure no Sato." Naruto smiled, but held his opinion to himself. "Works for me," he said happily. She looks like Hinata, but with blonde hair, he thought to himself. So he wants another woman for his harem. Kyuubi asked with a rumbling laugh. "Shut it, you damn fox." He yelled mentally at the fox. "But Naruto-kun, I thought you would want to have me join your harem too," Kyuubi said in a mock-hurt tone. "What are you talking about? Why would I want a male fox in a harem? Why would I even want a harem?" He replied mentally. "You don't get it, do you?" Kyuubi asked, but got no answer. "Come to me, child, and be enlightened," she said in a demanding tone. Naruto sighed and closed his eyes. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto entered the familiar cage section where the Kyuubi was sealed. "Yeah, what do you want, you damn fox?" He yelled at the cage. He saw the fox laying down in the cage, its eyes open, but didn't feel the usual malice emanating from the cage. "That's different," he said to no one in particular. He felt a hand touch his shoulder, and he jumped. "So you're going to tell him? Or do I have to tell him?" Yoshiko said in an annoyed tone. "You may tell the whelp, I will fill in things where you are either in error or lack the knowledge," Kyuubi said in response. Yoshiko pointed to a point near the cage, and said, "Make a couple chairs and a table, because this may take a while." Naruto looked at her with confusion written all over his face. "How do I do that?" he asked. Yoshiko giggled at this, but said, "This is your mind, and you have full control over it. Just think of some chairs, and they will appear." Naruto closed his eyes, and a couple chairs and a table appeared near the cage. "I did it," he yelled in excitement. "Now we're all impressed by your mental prowess," Kyuubi said in a sarcastic tone. Naruto glared at the fox, but said nothing. The fox began to laugh, and rolled over onto his back. "What are you laughing at?" Naruto asked angrily. "I got the great Naruto Uzumaki to stop speaking for more than a minute," Kyuubi said while laughing at his own joke. Yoshiko shook her head at this. "Naruto-kun, please sit down," she said, as she offered the other chair to him. Naruto sat down, and looked at Yoshiko, and then said, "You guys said that you're going to tell me something. So what is it?" Yoshiko nodded, and a screen appeared in the air near Naruto. "Watch carefully, Naruto-kun," Yoshiko said in a broken tone. Naruto watched the screen. What he saw shocked him. Before him was an older version of himself reaching for the same girl, but older, that he just met tonight. She appeared to have a larger stomach, but also had a wound emanating from there. The girl looked longingly towards his older self. He then saw his older self ask a question, and get angry at the answer, only to release the Kyuubi on Sasuke and Sakura. He watched for a little longer until after the Shinigami had appeared, and gave them the offer. He turned to Yoshiko, and asked, "Is it true? Did Sasuke and Sakura-chan actually kill me, and that girl Shion?" Yoshiko nodded, and said, "Yes Naruto-kun, they did. It would be in the future, after you gained the respect of the village for saving it from destruction several times. I also have to admit something to you." She waited for Naruto to nod before she continued, "Well, I'm not truly the Tsunade from the future anymore, I do love you. There is also an arrangement, well several that I've agreed to. First, I must be the first woman you have sex with. There are no options with this one. If afterwards you don't wish to see me again, then that is your right, because that is part of the deal we made with the Shinigami. Also we have made arrangements with all these women to marry you, Naruto-kun. Those of us that you saw present, Hinata-chan, Isaribi-chan, Shion-chan, Yakumo-chan, and myself, all have come back in time to save you. I'm the merged souls of Yoshiko Senju and Tsunade Senju from the future. The Tsunade portion has slowly become a lesser part of myself and incorporated itself into me. So you're telling me you're from the future?" Naruto asked with an astonished look on his face. "Yes, and no. All of the girls you saw have merged with their earlier selves, thus the reason they are more powerful than before. I hope you understand that you're loved, and we only want what is best for you," Yoshiko said with a warm smile. She grabbed his hands and squeezed them gently. "So what is Furball's problem?" Naruto asked, as he pointed a thumb over his shoulder. "Do you remember the lessons on reproduction?" Yoshiko asked. Naruto nodded, but still wore a puzzled look. "She was controlled before the attack, and is hormonal for the next few years," Yoshiko explained. "She? What do you mean she?" Naruto yelled. "What, don't you believe that a girl can have her time to be bitchy?" Kyuubi asked in a teasing tone. "So that's your problem? You're having PMS," Naruto said. He turned and began to laugh, so hard he fell off his chair. Kyuubi was lying on her back with her paws up in the air and her tongue sticking out of her mouth. She looked like a 5-story kid rather than an all-powerful demon. Yoshiko had to admit it was a funny sight to see Kyuubi rubbing its back against the floor with its tongue sticking out. The blood test showed that some of Naruto's development was hindered by Kyuubi-chan, Yoshiko explained. Oh, so it's my fault that the brat is so dumb, Kyuubi exclaimed angrily. In a way, yes. Your presence is flooding his system with female hormones, and his body is compensating with tons of male hormones. Thus, along with the lack of proper treatment and diet, his development has been affected, Yoshiko replied. You mean I should be a girl? Naruto asked. Yoshiko and Kyuubi giggled at Naruto's question. No silly, you're supposed to be a boy. First off, your training was terrible at best. No one taught you the basics, so you had to learn them for yourself. Humans are social animals, and you were not given proper social interaction. Along with your schooling being tampered with, you haven't learned what proper friendship is like. What do you mean? My friend Naruto said, but trailed off. Yes, you remember the image from the future, about how Sasuke killed you, your lover, and your child with the help of Sakura, Yoshiko said, as a tear rolled down her face. Shion-chan still hurts from the loss of that child, and she along with the rest of us, wants to give you something you haven't had, a family. We all want to be your wives. Naruto looked at her with eyes that were wanting, but were afraid to speak. She nodded, and then embraced him in a hug. I'm first, Hinata wants to be second, she began to say, but was interrupted. I want to be third. Kyuubi yelled, and then looked at the two with a confused look. What? I have needs too. He can just change into a large fox, and have me for however long he wants. There is no chance for kids. Yoshiko rolled her eyes, but Naruto looked at the giant fox with an open mouth. We will have to discuss this later, but since it is his mind, Yoshiko said in a seductive tone. A smile on her face worried him. She then saw a kunai flash. He was able to almost follow it, as it shredded his clothes. He stood in front of Yoshiko stark naked. Now that's what I'm talking about, Kyuubi exclaimed. Naruto watched, as a bed appeared next to them, and Yoshiko dropped her kimono on the floor next to him. She grabbed his shoulders, and gently pushed him on the bed. You realize that this doesn't count, she said in a seductive tone. Naruto couldn't do anything. His body moved, but he had no control over it. Yoshiko mounted him, and began to sway her hips. He was in heaven, but also terrified that he was hurting Yoshiko. He knew what was going on, but felt like he had no control. Her kisses made him feel the pleasure even deeper. He couldn't help himself, so he began to buck into her hips, and couldn't help the feeling that was building within him. He suddenly arched his back, and released his pressure. He then fell back to the bed, and was panting hard. He then noticed Yoshiko glistening with sweat, and also panting hard. She kissed him deeply, and lay down on his chest. Happy birthday, Naruto-kun, she whispered in his ear. Now you only need to do that in the real world, and we can move along. This timeline is killing me. That damn jerk in snow had me contained with a device. You know how much that hurts? Kyuubi asked, but then noticed that Naruto had wrapped his arms around Yoshiko, and both had fallen asleep. Kyuubi sighed, and lay there watching over the two. Hinata watched carefully at the facial expressions on both Naruto and Yoshiko's face. She smiled, as both faces went from an almost grimaced pain to a blissful sleep. She had an idea what was going on. She knew that Naruto and Yoshiko had a connection that they could use mentally, and she surmised that they were going over what happened in the future, and that she was trying out the future husband the easy and safe way. She was slightly jealous. Naruto found over the next few days that the girls wouldn't leave him alone in the room unless he asked. If he asked, they would comply, and not complain. This confused him, as no one had ever wanted to spend so much time with him. He was beginning to understand why Yoshiko and Hinata kept vigil, as they would continue to proclaim their love for him. He didn't understand why Haku, Isuribi, Yakumo, and Enko all felt they loved him. With Yoshiko and Hinata, they were both watching, and waiting for the right time to let him know, even if he were ignorant of love, but the others were confusing. He finally got to see Yakumo, Hinata, and Enko without clothes, when Yoshiko invited them over to the private hot springs at the Senju residence. While he expected Enko to be well developed, Hinata and Yakumo surprised him. Hinata more so. For a girl of 12, she was more developed than Haku. That evening, Naruto also became the clinical experiment for the girls on the diagnostic. Each would scan Naruto, but Hinata would take the cake. As she scanned Naruto, she would kiss the area she scanned. Naruto of course couldn't control his natural reaction. When Hinata got to his crotch, she gave him a blowjob he was both embarrassed and delighted to get. The embarrassment came from it not really being an intimate moment with just the two of them, as all the girls were there, and Tsunade and Yoshiko making sure that the girl didn't mount Naruto right then and there, in their excited state. Hinata later apologized, but was only really sorry for embarrassing him, not what she had done. Naruto-kun, I would have made love to you tonight, she admitted quietly. Really, Hinata-chan? He asked. Hinata nodded, and then turned red. I know you promised yourself to allow your first time to be with Yoshiko-chan, but will you allow me to be your second? she asked in a pleading voice. Naruto then looked at the other girls, who all wearily smiled and nodded to this request. Well, since no one objects, it's a promise to Hinata-chan, he declared. Enko moved up and placed a hand on his shoulder and smiled. Your wedding night is going to test that legendary stamina, she said, as Naruto looked at her with a confused look. Enko immediately regretted her statement, as she felt the glares from all the other girls on her back. Naruto looked at her then the other girls, and asked, what is this about wedding night? Ishiko sighed, as she wanted to have this wait until later, but since Enko had opened her big mouth. She explained, Naruto-kun, do you know what a betrothal is? Naruto nodded apprehensively. She smiled and continued, it is a contract of sorts, for marriage. Those that are betrothed are set to be married at a later date. You are currently the male in Konoha with the biggest betrothal. You're engaged to all these girls, and a couple others. Koyuki submitted the documents officially the other day. You can deny any of the women who have asked for your hand if you like, but there are consequences. But why would so many women want me? Naruto asked, as all the girls just looked at him dumbfounded. Naruto-kun, do you remember our discussion on love? Yoshiko asked, as Naruto nodded. She then continued, well, I'm first on the list of women you're engaged to, Hinata-chan is second, Haku-chan is third, Yakumo-chan is fourth, Isaribi is fifth, Shion-chan is sixth, Anko-chan is seventh, and Koyuki is eighth. Who is Shion? Naruto asked. She is the priestess of Demon Country, and it is a long story which Kyuubi, Aki, you, and I would have to discuss later, Yoshiko explained. Naruto nodded at the explanation. He then looked at Hinata, and asked, not that I didn't like it, but why did you do that? Hinata blushed, and then started to push her fingers together in a way that Naruto found cute. Because I wanted to actually make love to you, Naruto-kun, but I know that we are too young, so I just decided to give you some pleasure, she admitted. Hinata found herself gently tackled, and began to scream in pleasure, as Naruto returned the favor. He also noticed the look of excitement and disappointment on the other girls' faces. He quietly said, shadow clone, and a single clone appeared for each girl. Each proceeded to pleasure said girl. After a while of pleasuring the girls, they noticed yelling emanating from the house. This was of course louder than the moaning of the girls near the springs. Yes. I yelled repeatedly. Naruto finished with the girls, and promptly passed out from the input of the clones. Yoshiko was the first to recover from the pleasure-induced haze, and headed to the master bedroom. She found Tsunade asleep in the arms of her father. She quietly left the room with a smile on her lips. Guess it was in the air tonight, she thought to herself. She returned to a group of naked, but smiling girls, and a naked, smiling Naruto. Happy birthday Naruto-kun, she said quietly, as she moved the girls to the extra rooms for them to sleep off the night's activities. Naruto found himself yet again in Yoshiko's room. He noticed his nudity, and that of his companions. Yoshiko and Hinata were both curled up to him. The memories of last night filled his mind, and he couldn't believe he actually did what he did. He had actually used his and his clones' hands and mouths to pleasure the girls. Not just one, but all of them. He wasn't sure why he did it, but he wasn't angry or sad that he did, as all the girls seemed to be happy that he did what he had done. He turned to Hinata, and then looked into Yoshiko's eyes. He saw that her brown eyes were slits, and she had a feral grin on her face. Yoshiko-chan. Why are you looking at me like that? He asked in a fearful tone. Time's up Naruto-kun, your mind, she growled. He began to understand, since her hand was massaging his nether region, and it excited him. When he stood at full attention, she mounted him. Hinata woke up during the love-making session, and smiled wickedly. I'm next was her only thought. Thanks for watching my video, leave a like if you enjoyed my video, and also do consider subscribing to my channel for more awesome content. See you next time, till then sayonara.